I think I'll enjoy the Beyoncé cinema experience more than the gig experience, because I feel like you lose some of the atmosphere when you're in a huge stadium.
Yeah.
So I think being back in a cinema
in
that's
the dark
with good speakers, and you find yourself in those huge stadiums, you're sat next to someone like eating a pizza or like having a packet of crisps sat down, and I'm like, Beyonce's like dancing her ass off. And I'm not saying don't eat your crisps, but people are like,
is cinema the future of live music? Nick Grimshaw, discuss.
Well, it's not actually live, is it? Because you'd be watching a film of a live concert. But I think it's a fantastic night out for 15 quid. And I think going to see someone that you're interested in, and, you like a few of their songs, going to the cinema to watch it edited, the best bits from the world tour, in surround sound, shot purposely that this is going to be a cinematic experience, is a dream night out, really, isn't it? You're sat, you've got popcorn, you have a tracksuit on, you can drive, park, go on. So I like that idea of going to see Beyoncé in the cinema. And I can't wait to go and see Beyoncé in the cinema. There's not that many. Well, maybe Beyoncé is one of those artists that people are willing to pay through the nose for. But if you're not willing to pay, 200 quid, which is a really expensive,
so much money,
3-hour experience, then I love the idea of going to see a good gig in the cinema. It's about what the vibe's like in the cinema. Like, will people be singing and dancing? Like, I like that idea. I went to go and see the Talking Heads movie in the cinema, and I loved it because
I saw a beautiful video of that at the end of that film in Dublin in a cinema. The whole cinema,
everyone singing and dancing.
Yeah,
so nice. It's great for cinemas because people aren't going to the cinema.
Yes.
As much.
Yes.
And, I know we had like good films out this year, like Barbie and Oppenheimer, and a bit of cinema culture was back. But I love the idea of going to see a big pop star on a Friday night at your local cinema.
That is very cool. It's very cool.
And I'd have loved that growing up in Oldham.
That would have been amazing.
Beyonce didn't come to Oldham. She might have gone to Manchester for one night. Yeah. But one, we wouldn't have been able to afford tickets. And two, it's probably sold out. I think I'll enjoy the Beyonce cinema experience more than the gig experience. Because I feel like you lose some of the atmosphere when you're in a huge stadium.
Yeah.
So I think being back in a cinema
in
that's
the dark
with good speakers, and you find yourself in those huge stadiums, you're sat next to someone like eating a pizza or like having a packet of crisps sat down, and I'm like, Beyonce's like dancing her ass off. And I'm not saying don't eat your crisps, but people are like, whereas in the cinema,
they can do that,
and
you don't feel bad.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm more excited about going to see it in the cinema than I am the actual concert.
So let's now. I think that has a lot to do with Beyoncé as well, because there's something very predictable about Beyoncé. You're not going to be surprised by anything she says on stage.
I think it's very artist specific. And I said this to Will the other day. I said someone like, a Lady Gaga.
Or a Madonna.
Or a Katy Perry, say. They, things might go wrong. There'll be ad-libs. I think it'll feel different every night. And I think Beyoncé is so professional that the live show would be consistently the same each night.
Yeah. So you're just getting the very, very, very best of the tour. Now, listen, we need to talk about the backdrop of this. If live music is if cinema is going to help live music in general, we need to talk about the dark side, which is that, set against the backdrop of record-breaking concert films and stadium shows, the live music industry is absolutely in crisis.
Yeah.
So you put in a WhatsApp group this week some stats that you'd read from a Times article, a Jonathan Dean written article about small independent venues in the UK, right?
This is from Sunday Times Culture magazine on the weekend. Jonathan Dean spoke to Mark David, who is from the Music Venue Trust. And he said, of the 366 venues that Ed Sheeran played whilst he was learning his trade, at least 150 have closed, which is a nuts stat.
Yeah.
Because we remember, or, we remember Ed Sheeran being a new artist. If that was like the Rolling Stones, you'd be like, well, yeah, it's 50 years.
Yeah.
This is only over a few years.
Yeah.
So 150 of those venues have closed.
This is really interesting. And I think this is what really, what it amounts to at the end of the day is the gap between the bottom and the top.
Yeah.
Is so huge. Stadium tour tickets sell at £100 plus. People are spending their gig budgets at the top end of the scale. And despite fewer tickets being sold this year, the industry will still make more money because they're just investing heavily in the bigger acts, those 20 big acts that do the stadium tours, whatever.
I will say, though, in my experience of going to gigs, I can't remember a big gig that I've really, really loved.
But apart from a festival show, do you mean like a standalone gig?
Yeah, like those huge stadium gigs.
Right.
I think they're a fun day out, and maybe a nice occasion for a drink. But I don't know how much. I always feel like I'm conscious that it's an artist. I always feel I'm conscious it's a pop star at work in a stadium.
That's really interesting.
Because they have to do certain things to tick it off.
Yeah.
So then they all start doing kind of similar things.
Yeah.
Because that's what's expected at these stadium gigs. And they've, it's filmed and it's put up on Instagram and everyone's seen it. So it does make me feel like when I'm at those huge stadium shows, like, and no disrespect to the pop star at all, because that's what they've got to do. But I feel like I'm watching someone at work rather than like, oh, let me give you this primal urge to perform and tell my story through song.
Yeah.
Are you going to go and see the Beyoncé film? Do you think that would be something that you'd like to
I'd
go and
go
see
with
in the
you.
cinema? Yeah.
Because I didn't go see the Renaissance tour.
No.
So I would go with you. Yeah, I would.
Also, the sound of that album, like all the samples, were all expertly chosen, and the selections of like references and songs she covered and sampled are just going to sound really good
in a cinema,
in surround sound cinema.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm down.
I'm up for Big Frida being blasted over my local cinema.
Shall we go?
I'd love to go. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, Taylor Swift.
No, I'm not going to that.
No, I'm not finished yet.
Oh, sorry.
Taylor Swift is the Eras film, which has been the tour, the film in the cinema, is now coming out on streaming on her birthday, just in time for Christmas.
God, does she ever
stop?
She
is making
she
printing
ever
money.
Stop?
She never stops, does she?
God.
Never.
Put your
ever
feet up, Taylor.
Stops.
I mean, she is. That's the point.
Yeah, the feet are going to be up for a few
Someone
years.
else is doing all the work.